Hello, friends, and welcome to Your Health Matters. My name's Karl Sterling. Great to be here. Thank you for tuning in. So, in today's show, I have so many things that I want to get through. And of course, I say this every time, right? Every week. But this week is no exception because our health matters. Your health matters, not just your physical health, emotional, mental, all kinds of health, right? Financial health. There are so many different types of health. So we're going to go through a whole bunch of things today that I've sort of put into this outline. I'd like to improvise a little bit. I used to be a jazz drummer. That was my primary, let's say, style of music I played when I was a professional musician for a living. Well, improvisation is part of my makeup, my MO, motive operandi, and I like improvising, but I do have a theme, so we're going to get through a whole bunch today. Right. So in this first segment here, this hour, I want to talk a bit about basically the truth about outsourcing health. All right, outsourcing health. Well, you know, when I say this, I am not judging anyone. I'm not coming down on the medical community, although I probably could, and I'd probably be right in some cases, but there are a lot of great doctors, a lot of great communities within the medical community. So I want to talk about it in, let's say, in regards to you taking, let's say, taking control of your health. And let's see where it goes. All right. The main idea here is that we have given away power in many cases for those of us maybe who either are not, let's say, enlightened on this and knowledgeable of this, or just don't really want to take control of our health. We've given away our power to the food industry, the pharmaceutical industry, and even the healthcare system. So what do we want to define this outsourcing as? Well, if we look through here and we look at outsourcing health and how it's defined, you can simply put it like this. One of the bullet points, that is, relying on pills instead of prevention. I mean, this is all over the place. I'm no exception. I've definitely been looking for pills instead of prevention in certain things in my life. Before I got into this business, there are things I'm looking for a quick fix. I'm looking for this pill to help with my anxiety, this pill to help with more anxiety and more, let's say, stress. And I wasn't really mindful of how to manage stress. Well, truth is, I still take a medication called Effexor or venlafaxine for stress. I think they're the same thing. I think the venlafaxine might be the generic name for Effexor. I still take it, but I don't take as much of a dose as as high of a dose as I used to. Okay. Because I've learned, because I don't want to rely on pills the rest of my life all the time for everything, which doesn't make me better than anyone else. This is my choice. I don't want to rely on the pills because I'd like to know, how can I self-manage and self-regulate my anxiety and my stress? All right. So that's just one example. And I have learned ways. And maybe before the end of the show, we'll get through some of these ways. All right. Another way, but okay, we just listed relying on pills instead of prevention. Let me tell you some other things, though. As I said, I'm going to improvise. I'm going back now. There are a couple pills I no longer take that were for depression because I don't need them anymore because I'm not depressed. It is typical for me to wake up feeling a little bit sad, but I know how to get out of it. All right. I know how to get out of it. For me, it's get up, get in the shower. First thing, if I just skip the shower and I'm feeling sad, it's a bad move because the shower wakes me up. It changes how I feel. I don't know why. I have no science behind it. I can't verify that a shower is going to make any of you feel good, but it makes me feel a little bit better. Then I go down and hit the espresso machine or the coffee maker. Yes, I do. And you may not be into that, but that's what I do. And I do yoga. I do stretching. And you know what? About 90% of the time, I'd say I feel better. So I also have situations in my life that used to be in place that aren't there anymore that I've learned how to deal with, or they're just not happening. Or if something happens, I can manage it through yoga, breathing. Maybe I can't do yoga because I'm in my car and I'm driving, but I can still do breathing exercises to help me manage my anxiety when it hits. All right. Now, there are a myriad of things we can do for this, from cutting down on caffeine, possibly for some people. For me, it doesn't seem to have any effect. When I don't drink caffeine, I feel the same as if I do drink it. I just happen to like the taste of coffee, so I drink it. But not everyone's the same. All right. So, defining the outsource, okay, relying on pills is one of them instead of prevention. Learning how to prevent things is so paramount to our well being. And I think that for the pills we can replace safely, it's probably not a bad idea to do so. How about waiting for disease before taking action? Sadly, over the years I've been in this business, it's a long time now. This is like a double-edged sword. We have people who come in, and the only reason they come in to see me and get advice and get training and get therapy is because they have a diagnosis of something. Could be Parkinson's, MS, maybe they're post stroke rehab, maybe they're post cancer, post something. Post, let's say, in some cases, and I am going to say that's quite a few cases, you can't, there's things you can't control, and then there's things you can control. So of those things that can be controlled, perhaps it's type 2 diabetes and some complication from that, but you never did anything about it. And then some disaster happened and you had to go to the doctor. Maybe you had surgery and then you end up coming to me for some reason. You're waiting for disease to hit before taking action because you didn't take action. For a lot of us, I was no exception, but I don't do this anymore, is we knew we were headed down a bad road, but we weren't bad enough off yet. Our health just wasn't bad enough. We didn't feel that bad. We didn't feel bad enough. And maybe we weren't really worried about something happening that is likely to or could happen or probably would happen. And then bingo, you get a diagnosis and bingo, you start moving. Well, the bad news is we've waited until we got a diagnosis. The good news is at least something got a lot of us moving. Wouldn't it be nice, though, if we could do something preventative before a diagnosis? And that is something that I am reaching out about because I so much want people to really think about, where are they at right now? Where's your weight? How's your blood work? How's that, all that lab work that your doctor is doing for you? Are you getting it done? Have you seen a doctor? We had a gentleman in a little while ago who we just found out has some colon cancer. He hadn't seen a doctor in 10 years. I'm not saying he did the wrong thing. I'm not saying the cancer was there last year, 6 months ago, 10 years ago, but how would we know? We don't. And he would never know because, well, he didn't go to a doctor. Maybe it was slowly manifesting. Maybe it just showed up. Maybe it's just in the nick of time. He's going to be fine, I'm sure. But 10 years, if you don't believe in doctors, I'm sorry, but you should probably see one. Go see a good doctor. You need some references? I got quite a few for you. All right. I got a handful right here in central New York. And in some cases, even outside of this area. All right. So let's not wait for disease to kick in to get a diagnosis before we kick in and start doing the movement, eating better, sleeping more, doing the things that will lead us into living longer and healthier lives. Let's take action. And I'm not saying if you trust in corporations or governments are the right or the wrong thing to do, but educating yourself rather than relying on certain entities, especially right now, there's a lot of turmoil going on. I'm not saying that any of that's good or bad either. Okay, but with CDC and FDA, there's mixed feelings out there. The good news, we've got Marty McCary, who's FDA director, commissioner now. I mean, you couldn't get better than that, right? So how did this all happen? How did we lose control? Well, we're going to talk about it when we come back, but right now we have to go to break. This is Your Health Matters. My name is Karl Sterling. We're here on News Radio 570 WSYR, also available on 106.9, and we will be back after this break. So let's talk about how did this happen? Well, a lot of this snuck up on us over the years. We've talked about this till we're blue in the face with so many of our, let's say, world class leading experts, best selling authors, leaders in the field of medicine and living well, living healthy, living longer, enhancing your life, your quality of life, and let's say extending your longevity. All right. But how did it all happen? Well, here are just a few little tidbits of how we got to where we are now. Processed food shaped generations of eating habits. That's just the way it is. I remember back in the early 70s, TV dinners were a big thing at my house, and it was actually considered kind of a special treat to have one. And my mother, rest in peace, Mom, I miss you terribly, terribly, and I love you. And you fed us well. So we did eat pretty well, but those TV dinners, man, they were so easy, right? Just stick them in the oven, heat them up. They lasted forever too. I mean, yeah, you freeze a lot of them, and that's probably fine. We can freeze whole foods a lot of times and do well. But geez, folks, processed food, all the chemicals, all these things that are in the foods, the additives, the preservatives, basically if you look at the center of the store, the further you get towards the perimeter, you're usually better off because the boxed up stuff that lasts for months or years is in the middle or the canned or whatever. Well, you can't keep that stuff, from going bad if there aren't preservatives in it and additives to enhance flavor or how it looks, things like that. These things, we digest them. People don't want to believe this, though. I can't even believe that people refuse to acknowledge in many cases. I met somebody recently who says, oh, I can eat Fruit Loops the rest of my life and it's going to be fine. Well, maybe so. Who am I to say? I'm not a doctor, no expert. Maybe your genetics allow you to eat anything and be okay. But what if you're eating that? What else are you eating that's processed? The fact is, when we look at the dyes and the chemicals and the amount of sugar and the added sugars and the sweeteners and the chemicals, my gosh, this is the root of so much of the problem out there with chronic disease, what we put into our body. Okay, so processed foods had a big part of this because, it started really like, what Casey Means said like 80, 90, 100 years ago. Well, it really, really came into play more so in the 70s and then right up on through till now. And it's everywhere and it's hard to escape it. You go to Starbucks, and I love Starbucks. I go there at least once, twice a week, but I'm going for the one or no pumps of the sugar because every pump of some syrup there has about 10 grams of sugar. And let's say you get a grande or a venti, right? Or even a trenta, right? The biggest one, if it's available on that, whatever it is, your heart attack latte or whatever. So if you're going to have a heart attack latte and you got 6 pumps of sugar in there, of syrup, that's 60 grams of sugar plus the other sugars. You could be into the 70, 75 grams of sugar. Oh my gosh. This is no wonder our insulin levels are off. No wonder we're having all kinds of problems with obesity and type 2 diabetes when we're maybe in this habit of drinking those every day or many times, or sometimes twice a day for some people. I know people go to Starbucks or wherever. They could go to McDonald's and get the $2 thing, still loaded with sugar and all the other processed stuff. And over time, and it doesn't take a lot of time, folks, to spike these levels out, man. They spike up this insulin, spike up the blood sugar, the A1C goes up. Next thing you know, you're bigger, and it's not the kind of bigger you want. It's not muscle, it's fat. And you're not feeling good. And you got all kinds of problems, with circulation and diabetes and neuropathy and heart and maybe cancers. And God forbid, you don't want that stuff. But processed foods have played such a huge role. Whether you want to hear it or not, it's the way it is. It's the way it's been. Doctors are treating symptoms oftentimes because the symptoms became the norm. Now, I'm not saying I will never say anything bad about any doctor. But I am going to say that if your doctor's only treating a symptom and giving you a pill to cover up something or manage something, perhaps it's time to ask that doctor or somebody else in the office or another doctor somewhere else, can you get to the root of my problem so I can get off this medication? Maybe you can't. I can tell you that I'm on Lovenox blood thinner the rest of my life, twice a day, an injection, right? That's never going to go away. But it's not because of anything other than I have a rare genetic clotting condition. So I'm not saying stop your medications. I'll never say that. But maybe you can replace them with habits, like what you eat, like exercise, like building muscle. You build muscle, you lower your blood sugar. Whoa, who knew? We talked about it a million times. People don't want to hear it, but it's true. And you're going to put a little bit of this on media. Sorry, I am media, right? But there is this priority, let's say, of convenience and fear-based messaging. Tech and modern lifestyle has really put us also into a state of less activity, or in some cases, inactivity and overconsumption. Let's say some examples of where we're being outsourced. Well, nutrition, right? Maybe depending on labels, trends, influence, instead of learning how food actually works in your body, in your system, how it actually nourishes you or not. Movement, going from an active lifestyle to sitting, and in a lot of cases, compared to 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 150 years ago, people are sitting like 90% more often or 90% of the day. That's not good. That's not good. I sit too much and I'm moving all day. So I make it a point to move. Replacing connection of, let's say, instead of connecting with people and being mindful, a lot of times we're looking for quick fixes. Could be connecting with social media. Yeah, you can have conversations on there, or just how we do doom scrolling and watch all the bad news. Although, the algorithms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, they pick up what we're looking at, and then they will give us more of what we're looking at. So if you're looking at anti this, anti that, bad things, you're going to get more bad. If you look at good, you're going to get more good. I have mine trained to give me good health advice, motivational, thought-provoking quotes, and bad dad jokes. All right, so want to hear some bad dad jokes? Come and visit me, and I'll tell you all of them, and then you want to run right away. Treating the body like a broken machine needing repair. This is what is we're experiencing this in large quantities, right? And if we get ahead of that, start being preventative, well, we're going to avoid a lot of this high cost, because 60% or more of U.S. adults now live with at least one chronic disease. Can you believe it? Life expectancy is decreasing in some countries, including the United States, despite medical advancements. There are skyrocketing rates of obesity, type 2 diabetes, dementia, cancer, and Parkinson's. We have a mental health crisis with more medications being doled out for that than ever before. And basically a systematic failure of how healthcare is now sick care. All right, ultra-processed food is sadly cheaper and more available than whole foods. Don't forget, you got a farmer's market here Saturday mornings down at the regional market in Syracuse. I'm going to tell you, get some great deals. If you can get over there, get over there. There are a lot of farmers markets around, but that's there year round. So preventative care is underfunded. Insurance rewards treatment, not prevention or education. And I'm just going to say before we go to break, if you don't take time for your wellness, you'll be forced to take time for your illness. With that said, folks, we're going to go to break. My name's Karl Sterling. This is Your Health Matters here on News Radio 570 WSYR. We have an announcement when I come back after the bottom of the hour, something I want to share with you about the direction of this show, Your Health Matters. We'll share that when we get back. Welcome back, everybody. So We're going to talk shortly here about reclaiming control through daily choices. But before we do, I'd like to let you know that I've been vacillating on what to do about this radio show. I sit here and record, and lots of times Elizabeth is with me, and I love having her with me because she has a lot to offer. And she's a real inspiration to me. I enjoy doing this with her, and I enjoy the positive feedback we get, although we don't get a lot of feedback on the show, but we know our ratings are very high, and we have thousands of listeners. Thank you. Because if you weren't listening, well, I wouldn't be doing it. But I've thought really seriously about just stopping doing the show. I love doing the show. I love iHeartRadio, WSYR, Hunter Hillers, TS, Phil Mercado. Everybody at the station's been just so wonderful to me. And then we have Kyla and our producers. We've had great producers, Dave, Kyla. And instead of giving up the show, mainly because I actually wonder a lot of times if anybody's actually listening and actually doing anything that any of our guests talk about. I get just enough feedback to say, okay, it's time to keep going. But we're going to change one thing. We're going down to 1 hour sometime in June. I'm not sure if it'll be June 15th, 22nd, if that's, yeah. I'm not sure, the 29th. One of those days we'll be starting to go to 1 hour because I can manage 1 hour. 2 hours, I can definitely fill it up, but it actually takes a lot of energy for me. And because we have a global expansion going on of NeuroMotor training and the meeting schedule has been so heavy, and the workload so demanding, this is one way I have to get ahead in my health. I have to pull back in areas that are demanding a lot. In radio, I love you, radio. I love it. 1 hour, though. 12 to 1 will be noon to 1 sometime soon. So we're not going away, but we're cutting back. But I'm getting a little better at this. I hope, hopefully able to say more in less time. So keep tuning in. All right. When we talk about our daily choices, folks, we could look at reframing our health as, let's say, a daily practice, not a destination, right? We can look at a daily practice so that we get to the destination of longer, better health, because our greatest tools for transformation are already in our hands, and that is what we choose to do, because you are in control of you. No one else can tell you what to put in your mouth, whether you're going to move or not move, exercise or not exercise, smoke or not smoke, drink or not drink, do drugs or not do drugs. I'm talking about illegal drugs. And I'm not judging, You all know I used to drink a lot. I don't drink anything anymore. Never got into drugs, though. But every meal you do, or every walk or skipped walk, every hour of sleep versus screen time, right? Well, these are things we all have choices over. We can go for that walk, or we can go take a nap on the couch. Yeah, I would love to take the nap always over walking, except that when I go for the walk or I go to the gym or I do any kind of movement or exercise, I always feel better. Today I got up, I worked out at the Y up on River Road. I love that place. And you know what? I was feeling sad this morning. I don't know why. I can't explain it. But you know what? I went over there, I worked out. I walked out feeling like completely the opposite. Movement creates positive stuff, positive neurochemicals. It won't fix everything. You may not feel better after every workout emotionally or mentally, but you probably will feel somewhat better most of the time, if not a lot better. Let's talk about the big 5 lifestyle pillars to reclaim. Nutrition. We've talked about it so much. Eat real food. Despite what a couple of our guests had said about carnivore diet, which, I tried for 7 weeks and I'll never do it again. But I would suggest if you're interested in it, try it out. See how it makes you feel. It made me feel great. Inherently, somewhere in me, it says I need to eat some good plants, right? Well, I get this romaine lettuce from this guy. I don't know his name or the company up in Sterling, New York, in the back building, the newest building. He's got this organic romaine lettuce. This stuff is so good. And I think it's like $7 for 2 of them. It's the best $7. A little more than on another store, but man, it's good and I love it. So eat real food. Eat some plants. Eat healthy fats. Eat some fiber. Let's cut out the seed oils. We talked about that with Kate Shanahan twice. Go back in karlsterling.net, Karl with a K. Go back and look for Kate Shanahan. Listen to those interviews because she's going to talk about the hateful eight seed oils that are killing us and giving us cancer. Cut out seed oils, added sugars, ultra-processed junk. Learn to read ingredient lists, not just the labels. Okay, because there's a whole lot to that. We'll do a whole show on that coming up soon. Move. Get out there every day and walk or do something like strength training. You know, if we don't have enough muscle, we've talked about this forever too. How many times we talk about muscle is, first of all, the biggest organ in your body. It's not your skin. It's your muscle. Skin is probably second. I don't know though. Because your skin isn't going to give you a long lifespan, but your muscle will or will not. If you don't have enough muscle, you're going to have problems later in life. So you need to build and maintain that muscle through the lifetime. All right. Use tools like we have here, power plate, biodensity, build bone density, get your circulation going. We had a gentleman come in recently with purple feet, 20 minutes on a power plate. He got circulation going. His feet aren't purple anymore. Okay. Or just simple body weight movements. You know, you can do some planks, you can do some crunches, you can do some push-ups on your knees, whatever it is. Try not to be sedentary. That's dangerous. Inactivity is a silent killer. All right. So what have we talked about so far? We've got, well, I said 5. I don't know. There might be more. Sleep. How about sleep? You have sleep problems. I'm going to give you a sleep tip right here. First of all, aim for 7 to 9 hours of high quality sleep. Dim your lights, cool down the room, and try to stay away from the screens, the phones, the tablets before bed. Sleep is a performance enhancement, performance enhancer, not a luxury. All right. If you get up to, go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, first of all, safety is important. It's paramount. But if you're able to not turn on overhead lights, you're going to do better getting back to sleep than if you turn on overhead lights. Maybe have night lights plugged in and an outlet near the floor if you have outlets like that, night lights available. Because when the light from above hits the retina and it's coming in from above, so it's going to hit the bottom receptors of the retina in your eye. I'm going to tell you right now, and I wrote about it in my second book, Parkinson's Empowerment Training. Okay, and Edgar Huberman of Stanford Huberman Lab, he talks about all this, and it's the truth. Once you flip on that overhead light and those receptors in the bottom of the retina get activated, it's likely to start your cortisol production process and your wake-sleep cycle, or sleep-wake cycle, what people like to call it. I like to call it the other one because I wake up before I go to sleep every morning, right? I'm already asleep, so I wake up. Well, if that happens, your chances of getting back to sleep, they go down, all right? So keep the lights on, but keep them low. Keep them towards the floor, or dim the lights. And if you can't see and you got to turn it on, then turn it on because I don't want you falling down, all right? Breath work. I do a lot of breath work. Go to karlsterling.com, Karl with a K. Learn how to get to sleep faster through breath work. Learn how to manage anxiety through breath work by going to the Breathe tab on my website. Get out into nature. Enjoy some stillness and maybe some meaningful conversation. You know, chronic stress equals inflammation, disease, and burnout. Connection and purpose are also so important. And we're going to talk a lot more about that in the last segment of this hour coming up. I'm going to break soon. Isolation, not connecting with other people. This can be as dangerous for some, unless you like being alone, as smoking. Human connection boosts immune function and mental health. Is so important. All right, folks. So you're listening to Your Health Matters. My name's Karl Sterling. We're going to go to break where you're listening to News Radio 570 WSYR. We have one more segment and we'll come back and talk about more of this stuff. All right. Have a great break. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. We are back for the last segment of this hour. I would like to talk about personal responsibility. The moment you stop blaming others and start owning your health story, everything changes. What does radical responsibility mean? Don't blame your genetics, your age, your past trauma, your parents, or your doctors. Because even though there might be some responsibility on any of those, ultimate responsibility is you taking full ownership of your choices starting right now, today. You have to take that ownership of your choices starting now. I mean, I ask this question often. I say, when is now a good time to get started? Okay, now is the best time to start. You can't start in the past. You don't have the future. You probably have less future if you don't start now. Understanding it may be not your fault of something you're dealing with. We have a beautiful young lady comes in here with her mom, 33 years old, brain tumors, 3 brain surgeries the past, I think, 10 years. She didn't ask for this. She didn't live a lifestyle that led to a brain tumor. This is out of her control. But you know what? She comes here smiling. She fights 3 months of this. So she's walking better than half of the people I watch out there walking. And she could barely walk when she came in. She got winded and going like 20 feet. Going from the car into my clinic, she's winded, need to sit down. Now she's going 11 and a half minutes on our special relaxing treadmill, which is like walking trails because of the way it perturbates. And just go to karlstoring.com, Karl with a K. It's right on the front page. You're going to see a video about it. It's amazing. She's a fighter. She didn't ask for the brain tumor. It wasn't cancer, but still, it's traumatic. She's got her skull cut open. But she's still an angel. She still has that beautiful aura about her. She's a fighter, and she's grateful for what she has. She's not blaming anybody. We can't blame people. This is just not the way it goes, unless there's something obviously somebody did to you. There's negligence, yeah. But a lot of times it's really on us, and you're being educated here, I hope. And you probably know a lot more than I'm telling you, but I mean, some of you may not. So my job here is to try and share things to help you to make better decisions so you can live better, live longer, increase that health span within the lifespan, as we always say. So I just share with you one person who's, well, a couple things. You know, the gentleman with purple feet came in and his feet aren't purple anymore. Better circulation, waking up the nerves, walking better. Post-stroke, 3 strokes in the past few years. One of them was a little less than 2 months ago, and he's back in. He's in here. The girl with the brain tumor. Well, they're not blaming anybody. They're in here and they're fighting. So I would say to you, what I would say to my old self is, if they're fighting, why aren't you fighting? Ask yourself. You're the only one who knows the answer. This message is hard to hear, though, because it requires accountability, discipline, and humility. All right, we've been conditioned to believe, oftentimes, that someone else will save us. Well, we might need help. You got to take control. How are we going to make that shift? How about from why me to what do I do now? Okay, start small. Eat one clean meal. That means not processed, not bad junk stuff. Eat a whole food meal. Take that one walk. I don't care if it's like 100 yards, 100 feet, whatever. Do it. Go to bed early. Surround yourself with people who take ownership, not excuses, because you know, studies show, and I was one of these people, when I was drinking, when I hung around with people who were also drinking, I tended to drink more. Well, these days it wouldn't matter who I'm hanging out with because there's no way I'm going to have anything, period. I would bet everything on this because I know me and I am in control. But I did find that when I got away from them, it did a lot better for me. If I'm around people now, it doesn't matter anymore. But in the first couple years of being around people who were drinking when I was not drinking, it was hard to not drink. So anyways, I don't want you to be at the mercy of the system. I want you to have, this freedom because you became resilient, because you are, even if you don't feel it. and you've adapted and you're strong. And even in sickness, you can live empowered, right? Let's spend the last half of this segment talking about Together We Rise. Okay, this is, let's say, a group of reclaiming health, mental, emotional, physical, group of coming together and staying positive and not discussing anything negative. No politics, no religion, nothing contradictory. When one person is positive, others around them tend to get lifted. When a group or a leader models positivity, healthy habits, others around that person tend to follow. And then you have a group, and then the group gets bigger, and you have this, let's see, this thread of sameness going through, of higher level of energy and vibration, a more positive mindset, and more, let's say, likely to be disciplined, because all these things are contagious. For example, maybe you join or start a walking group. Dr. Barry has one every Tuesday night. I think it's at 5:30 on the Warners Road Canal area there. All right. He does it every Tuesday if it's weather permitting. And then if you are one of these people who decides to take control and you have a success story, share it. Share it with somebody you think is receptive to it. Don't go bragging around, because nobody wants to hear that. But if there's somebody who might be a little bit down, maybe you can lift them up and say, man, I went through something similar, and man, I can so relate to what you're feeling. Can I share something I did that really helped me? And maybe you'd want to try it. Become this beacon of possibility and offer support, not judgment. One of the first things that happens a lot of times, people just judge. Hey, guess what? I've done that. I still do it every once in a while. How do I know what's going on, though? I met another person the other day who lost a child. I mean, I am so blessed that I have not lost children. But so many people I know, so many people who come into my clinic have lost children, whether they were a teenager or a baby, or a lot of them were adults, had families, and they lost their child. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe it's the anniversary of the death or the passing or the birth of that child, and they're really down, and maybe they're just in a bad mood, and they come across in a way that seems like, oh boy, they're really irritating. I don't want to be around them. Offer some empathy, not judgment, because this is how we rise together. All right? A collection or a collective of people who choose truth, health, science, unity, and compassion, probably the biggest one being compassion, and rising together with love and compassion, not by blaming, okay? Rise together through love, love, effort, and being the example. And of course, yes, empathy can be a huge part of that, and compassion, not by blaming. Not based in anger, but based in action of all these things, right? So if you wanted to join our group, go to karlstorring.com, Karl with a K. You can join Together We Rise in a Facebook group, newsletter, website. In the 1 week it's been up and running, we've had over 50 people join. We're starting to have some really cool, inspirational, positive conversations, right? Maybe share this episode with somebody who might need it or appreciate it. Ask yourself, what is one way I can rise today and help someone else rise too? Because you matter, your health matters, and the way you live your life ripples far beyond what you can see. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Karl Sterling. This is Your Health Matters. So much appreciate you listening. Go to karlsterling.net to find past episodes, and we'll be back at it next week here on News Radio 570 WSYR. Have a great week.